Okay, that should be plenty of time. I had to make memory on my phone. Alright, listen, I'm going to read some things that I've written this morning and just take them with a grain of salt, but seriously, maybe consider them. The president should be impeached for the following reasons. Number one, hosting a foreign dictator in our democratic nation at the White House, the People's House. Number two, usurping congressional's power of the purse, which is basically the same, one of the same things that he was impeached for last time. Number three, non-compliance to the Supreme Court orders and other judicial branches. And four, for an ineligibility to hold office as president due to felony conviction. If there's just one person who happens to die in this El Salvadorian prisoner exchange, without Donald Trump's impeachment, then his statement a few years back when he said, I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? That statement would have stood true and withstood the test of application, which is sad that he can rig such a method as to become an open murderer. If this occurs, it has not occurred yet, that he would have become an open murderer and gotten away with murder. Where do we draw the line at executive power? This would be a major test of justice in America as we forge the new face of liberty and justice for all. His reference to Fifth Avenue was very likely a play on words referring to the red circle emanation on our tree of life, which is known as Gebura, which is severity to justice. Basically, it deals with discipline, necessary limitations, as well as justice or judgment. So basically, he said, and I don't know that he meant this, but this is what I read from it, considering that everybody that's with us knows these emanations and plays around with these numbers in their lingo. His reference to Fifth Avenue was very much so likely in referring to the red emanation of justice on our tree of life. As enemies of the people so often speak two different meanings with one statement. I've always said, it is because of the shape of the fork of the tongue of the snake that you are able to say two things with one sentence. An example that I found of this, although this reference used in this example was pertaining to Greenland, he said it in such a way I could hear it in his voice, what he really meant. He said, we're going to get it one way or the other. We're going to get it. He was referring to ownership or sovereignty over Greenland. Again, we don't own nations, we are sovereigns over nations. Just like humans aren't illegal, they do illegal things. I think we're going to get it. One way or another, we're going to get it. This was the same kind of statement that a villain makes before being hauled off in a police car. Just imagine Trump looking out of a police car yelling, and I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids in his crystal ball. Inside joke. The secondary meaning to this statement Trump alludes to is likely a clear and evident intent due to his vendetta against America. One thing is clear. Donald J. Trump is not acting as a president who remembers his oath at swearing in to protect and serve the people and the Constitution of America. Seeing that he defies courts, condemns and sentences without due process, cares so little about school shootings as to not even offer words of prayer. But instead of comforting families, he takes the opportunity to remind America of his stout support of the Second Amendment and calls the incident terrible and a shame. The only shame is that we have not passed proper legislation to prevent this from happening. His idea of proper legislation to prevent this from happening is putting more guns, not less, not making it hard to get guns, but putting more guns in more people's hands, putting guns in teachers' hands. Now, if most of these students bring their guns from their parents' house, more guns is not the answer. His words of comfort at this time was, the gun doesn't do the shooting, the people do. An obvious smartass statement that is easily rebutted by saying, yeah, the people can't shoot if they can't have access to guns, and if we stiffen gun laws, they shouldn't have access in 2025 anyway, since we have such a robust way of technology and being so interconnected and so one. But nobody likes to use one unless it's just against the one that's helping them. Me. I think it's time to impeach President Trump. I've been watching Vice President J.D. Vance, and I personally would, if anybody cared to know, from the position of the Lord of Earth, from the position of the second coming of Christ, do believe that not only is J.D. Vance capable of being a new, fresh face of the Republican Party, steering us in a much more, I don't even want to use the word normal, but steering us in a much better outcome. President Donald Trump said and this is what really made me decide that J.D. Vance was ready for the White House, regardless of his young age or affiliations with Trump. The U.S. could move on if the war of Ukraine, if one or two parties make it very difficult. So basically Trump said, if one or two people make it too hard, I'm just going to move on and Russia can do whatever the fuck it wants to do to you. But you want to know what J.D. Vance is? This is how I know God is in J.D.'s heart. Because his response about the Ukraine war is that he was optimistic that peace talks could lead to a deal to end the war. So I'm calling for hashtag J.D. Vance for president. Hashtag impeach Trump again. And to you, J.D. Vance, I would say this. Blessed are the peacemakers. I forgot what the rest of it was. But that makes a beautitude. So therefore, I hereby present redemption through the emanation of Tipperet for the quality of a beautitude exhibited by J.D. Vance. May the angel of the Lord know that J.D. Vance has been redeemed.